The Galactic Empire didn't expect it. Humanity lit their stars on fire. The stars looked peaceful from the bridge of Bastion 7. Captain Do-Yun Kim stood with his hands behind his back, watching Neptune's pale blue surface rotate slowly below. He had commanded this defense station for 3 years now, and nothing interesting ever happened out here at the edge of the solar system. That was about to change. The alarm shattered the quiet. Red lights flashed across every console. Do-Hyun's second officer looked up with wide eyes. "Captain, we have contacts." Multiple contacts emerging from hyperspace at the system boundary. Do-Hyun moved quickly to the tactical display. What he saw made his blood run cold. 300 ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built, appeared on the screen like drops of poison spreading through water. They were massive, decorated with strange symbols, and they were moving toward Earth. "Sound the alarm," Do-Hyun said quietly. "Contact Earth Command. Tell them we have visitors and they don't look friendly." On the alien flagship Eternal Dominion, Admiral Vector examined the primitive solar system with satisfaction. The reptilian commander had conquered 47 worlds in his long career. This would be number 48. The dominant species here called themselves humans, and according to intelligence reports, they barely had 15 warships to defend their entire star system. "Another easy conquest," Vector said to his officers. "These creatures have only just discovered faster-than-light travel. They have no shields worth mentioning, no weapons that can harm our fleet. We will offer them the standard terms: surrender and serve the Empire or die." His tactical officer nodded. "Shall I begin scanning their military installations?" "Yes, and prepare the standard broadcast. Let them know who owns their world now." Back on Earth, in a secure bunker beneath the Swiss mountains, military leaders gathered in emergency session. General Park slammed his fist on the table. 15 ships against 300? We can't win this fight, not with conventional weapons. An older woman stood up. Her name was Dr. Nari Choi, and she looked tired. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her hands trembled slightly as she opened a classified folder. "There is another option," she said softly. "Project Prometheus." The room went silent. Everyone knew about Prometheus, though few understood the details. It was the classified project, the one they hoped never to use, the one that gave nightmares to everyone who knew its true purpose. "You can't be serious," another general said. "The risks are—" "I know the risks better than anyone," Nari interrupted. Her voice was sharp now. "I was there when the Mercury station exploded. I watched 17 people die because of my miscalculations. I know exactly what Prometheus can do. But if we don't use it, those 300 ships will turn our cities to glass." Director Ji-won Han, head of the UN Science Directorate, nodded slowly. "Dr. Choi is right. We built Prometheus for exactly this situation. The question is, do we have the courage to use it?" Far above Earth, Lieutenant Minho Park gripped the controls of the UNS Defiant. The young pilot had dreamed of space combat his entire life, but now that it was here, he felt only sick fear. Through the viewport, he could see the alien fleet advancing like a wall of metal and death. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen." A voice crackled over the radio. "We're going to hit them with everything we've got. Our job is to buy time, make every shot count, and may luck be with us all." Minho's hands were steady on the controls even though his heart hammered in his chest. Around him, 14 other human warships prepared for a battle they could not win. But they would fight anyway because Earth was behind them, and there was nowhere left to run. The Taraxian fleet broadcast their message on all frequencies. Admiral Vector's translated words echoed through every human ship, every space station, every military base on Earth. "Primitive creatures of the third planet. You are now subjects of the Taraxian Empire. You have 72 hours to surrender your military forces and submit to imperial authority. Refuse, and we will demonstrate the cost of defiance." On Mercury, the closest planet to the Sun, Dr. Nari stood in the control room of the Solar Dynamics Research Institute. Through the reinforced windows, the sun blazed like an angry god. Around that star, invisible to the naked eye, 200 satellites waited. Each one was the size of a small building, equipped with magnetic field generators and exotic matter injectors. Together, they formed the Prometheus Array. Nari's assistant, a young scientist named Junho, approached nervously. "Doctor, the array is ready. We can activate it any time. But I have to ask, are we sure about this? The simulations showed a 60% chance of—" "I know what the simulations showed. Nari said. We either use Prometheus and maybe destroy the sun, or we definitely lose Earth to the Empire. Those are our choices. Captain Do-hyun's voice came through on a secure channel. Dr. Choi, this is Bastion 7. The alien fleet has passed Saturn. They'll reach Earth in 48 hours. Whatever you're going to do, you need to decide soon. Nari closed her eyes. She remembered Taijin, her former partner dying in the Mercury disaster 15 years ago. She remembered the screams over the radio as the solar flare consumed the research station. She remembered promising herself she would never touch stellar manipulation technology again. But here she was, about to touch it one more time, about to gamble with the sun itself. Activate Prometheus, she whispered. May heaven forgive us. The alien fleet continued its advance, confident and unstoppable. Admiral Vector watched the primitive human ships scrambling to form a defensive line. It was almost sad, like watching children play at war. He had seen this same scene dozens of times before. The natives always fought. They always lost. Forward weapons, target their largest vessel, Vector ordered. Let's show them what real power looks like. But something strange was happening near the star at the center of the system. Sensors detected unusual magnetic fluctuations. Energy readings spiked impossibly high. Vector frowned at the data. What is that? His science officer checked and rechecked her instruments. Sir, I don't understand. It looks like they're doing something to their star. They're creating massive magnetic distortions in the photosphere. That's impossible, Vector said. Stellar manipulation is forbidden technology. No species has used it in 10,000 years. These primitives couldn't possibly. The sun erupted. A coronal mass ejection like nothing in recorded history burst from the star's surface. But this was no natural event. The plasma moved with impossible precision, guided by magnetic fields accelerating to 3% of light speed. It formed a wall of fire traveling across space, aimed directly at the Taraxian fleet. On Earth, billions of people looked up at the sky. The sun was brighter than it should be, pulsing with unnatural light. They didn't understand what was happening, but they knew humanity had just crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. Dr. Nari watched the data streams with tears running down her face. The solar tsunami was moving exactly as calculated. In approximately 4 hours, it would reach the alien fleet, and then everyone would know what humanity was willing to do to stay free. There's no going back now, she whispered. We just lit our star on fire. The Galactic Empire didn't expect it. Humanity lit their stars on fire. The solar tsunami crossed the void between sun and fleet like the hand of an angry god. Admiral Vector stared at his screens in disbelief. The temperature readings were impossible. 10 million degrees. 20 million. The wall of plasma was growing hotter as it approached, guided by magnetic forces that shouldn't exist. Raise shields to maximum, Vector shouted. All ships, emergency evasive maneuvers. But the Taraxian fleet had never faced a weapon like this. Their ships were built to fight other ships, not the fury of a star itself. The Vanguard, 40 vessels strong, had no time to react. The solar fire hit them at 3% of light speed. They simply vanished. No explosions, no debris. One moment they existed. The next moment there was only superheated gas where proud warships had been. Behind them, another 100 ships caught the edge of the plasma wave. Their shields overloaded instantly. Hulls melted like wax in a furnace. Thousands of Taraxian soldiers died before they could even scream. The rest of the fleet scattered in panic. Vector's command ship shook violently as it pulled away from the inferno. The admiral's claws dug into his command chair. In 3 centuries of military service, he had never run from an enemy. But this wasn't an enemy. This was a star, weaponized, impossible. Status report, he demanded. His tactical officer's voice shook. 140 ships destroyed or crippled. The rest are pulling back to Jupiter orbit. Admiral, the humans have done the impossible. They've turned their sun into a weapon. Vector's eyes narrowed. Shock gave way to cold rage. Send a message to the High Command. Tell them we face a species that breaks every law of civilized warfare. They must be eliminated completely. On Mercury, Dr. Nari Choi watched the results of her work. The screens showed alien ships dying by the dozens. She felt no joy, only a sick horror at what she had unleashed. Commander Sujin Bei stood beside her, arms crossed, face impassive. Good shooting, Doctor, Sujin said. We hurt them badly. We killed thousands, Nari whispered. Maybe tens of thousands. They came to conquer us. You saved billions of human lives. Don't forget that. But Nari couldn't stop seeing the numbers. Each destroyed ship had crew. People with families, maybe. Or whatever the equivalent was for their species. She had just killed more sentient beings in 4 hours than had died in the entire Mars rebellion. Junho approached with a tablet, his face pale. Doctor, we have a problem. The sun is unstable. The magnetic disruption was more severe than we calculated. Solar fusion rates are fluctuating. If we use Prometheus again, there's a real chance of cascade failure. What does that mean? Sujin demanded. Nari closed her eyes. It means the sun might die or expand. Either way, the solar system becomes uninhabitable. Using Prometheus is like playing with a bomb. Each time we use it, we risk setting it off. Can you fix it? Maybe, if we have time. But the alien fleet is still out there, and they're going to want revenge. Captain Do-Yun's fleet had moved in during the chaos. While the Taraxian ships reeled from the solar strike, 15 human vessels attacked like wolves picking off wounded prey. They were tiny compared to the alien dreadnoughts. But they were fast and desperate. Lieutenant Minho pushed his ship through a series of impossible maneuvers, dodging plasma fire that could have vaporized the Defiant in a heartbeat. He lined up a shot on a damaged enemy cruiser and fired every weapon he had. The alien ship's weakened shields collapsed. Missiles punched through the hull and detonated inside. Target destroyed, Minho's weapons officer shouted. That's 3 for us. But the celebration was short. 20 more alien ships were converging on their position. Minho pulled the Defiant into a steep dive, skimming so close to one enemy ship that he could see alien crew through the portholes. We can't keep this up, his co-pilot said. We're outnumbered 100 to 1. Then we make every second count, Minho replied. His voice was steady, but inside he was terrified. This was nothing like the simulations. Real combat was chaos and death and split-second decisions that killed people. The human fleet fought with desperate courage. They destroyed 8 more alien ships and crippled 12 others. But the cost was brutal. 7 human vessels were destroyed. The UNS Valiant, commanded by Captain Hyejin Song, made a suicide run on an enemy carrier. Her last transmission was calm. Tell my daughter I love her. Tell her we did this so she could be free. The Valiant rammed the carrier at full speed. Both ships exploded in a flash of nuclear fire. 2,000 lives ended in an instant. Do-Hyun watched it happen and felt something break inside him. But there was no time to mourn. All ships fall back to Mars orbit. We've done all we can here. Admiral Vector regrouped his scattered fleet near Jupiter. He had lost nearly half his ships in a matter of hours. The High Command was demanding explanations. How could a primitive species, barely capable of interstellar travel, inflict such devastating casualties? Sub-Commander Kelshaw, his tactical officer, approached carefully. Admiral, perhaps we should consider withdrawal. This species is far more dangerous than intelligence suggested. Vector turned on her with fury in his eyes. Withdraw? Run from primitives who live on a single planet? Never. We will show them what it means to defy the Empire. Prepare for planetary bombardment. We will destroy their cities one by one until they beg for mercy. But Admiral, they have the stellar weapon. If we approach Earth, they might. Then we strike from maximum range, Vector interrupted. We have kinetic weapons that can hit from Jupiter orbit. We don't need to get close. We will rain death on them from a distance they cannot reach. Kelshaw wanted to argue more but knew it was useless. The Admiral's pride was wounded, and a wounded predator was the most dangerous kind. She returned to her station and quietly began running calculations. Perhaps there was another way. Perhaps this war could end without complete genocide. On Earth, Director Ji-Won Han addressed the United Nations Assembly. Every representative from every nation watched on screens as he delivered the grim news. The alien fleet has regrouped. They're preparing for long-range bombardment of our cities. Dr. Choi informs me that using Prometheus again is extremely dangerous, but it may be our only option. How dangerous? The Secretary General asked. Ji-Won didn't sugarcoat it. There's a 60% chance that another full activation will destabilize the sun. We could trigger a cascade reaction that destroys the entire solar system within days. The chamber erupted in shouting. Some demanded they surrender. Others insisted they fight to the last human. Still others simply wept at the impossible choice before them. Private Seo Jun-Kwan stood guard outside the assembly chamber, listening to the chaos inside. He was 22 years old, fresh out of basic training. He had joined the military to see space, to be part of something bigger than himself. Now he was guarding politicians who were deciding whether to gamble with the sun itself. His radio crackled. "All units prepare for possible alien ground assault. They've launched dropships toward major cities." Seojin checked his rifle and tried not to think about how scared he was. Somewhere above, the sky was about to start raining fire, and somewhere on Mercury, Dr. Choi was preparing to possibly destroy the sun to stop it. Back at the Solar Dynamics Institute, Nari stood before the Prometheus controls once more. She thought about all the warnings she had ignored to build this system. She thought about all the people who had died testing it. She thought about Taejin, who would have told her this was madness, but madness was all they had left. "Charge the array," she ordered. "If they want to kill our planet, they'll have to go through our star first." The sun began to pulse with unnatural light once more. Humanity's weapon was awakening, and this time the entire galaxy would learn to fear it. The Galactic Empire didn't expect it. Humanity lit their stars on fire. The alien dropships burned through Earth's atmosphere like falling stars. Private Seojin Kwan crouched behind a concrete barrier in the ruins of New Seoul, watching the sky turn orange with re-entry fire. Around him, other soldiers prepared for an enemy they had never seen up close. Everyone was scared, but nobody ran. There was nowhere to run to. The first dropship crashed into the city center 3 blocks away. Its doors blasted open and alien soldiers poured out. They were tall, reptilian, covered in scaled armor. They moved with the confidence of warriors who had conquered 47 worlds. But they had never fought humans on their home ground. Seojin's squad opened fire. Bullets sparked off alien armor, but some found weak points. An enemy soldier fell, then another. But for every alien that went down, 2 more appeared. The fighting was brutal and close. Buildings crumbled under plasma fire. Screams echoed through streets that had been peaceful just days ago. "Fall back to secondary positions," Seojin's sergeant shouted. "Make them pay for every meter." They fought through the streets, building to building, meter by bloody meter. Seojin saw friends die. He saw aliens die too and realized with a shock that they bled red just like humans. Whatever they were living beings, scared and fighting far from their own homes. In one ruined building, Seojin found himself sheltering next to a wounded alien soldier. Both of them were too injured to fight, just trying to survive until medics arrived. The alien's translator device crackled to life. "Why do you fight so hard?" the alien asked. "The Empire always wins." "Because this is our world," Seojin replied, pressing a bandage to his bleeding shoulder. "We'd rather die free than live as slaves." The alien was quiet for a moment. "We don't want to be here either. My world was conquered 50 years ago. I fight for the Empire because refusing means my family dies. But I don't hate you. I respect you." Seojin looked at the wounded soldier with new eyes. The Empire wasn't just one species. It was thousands of conquered peoples forced to fight for their oppressors. This war was more complicated than he had thought. Far above the battle, Admiral Vector prepared his devastating response. His fleet had moved into bombardment position near Jupiter. From this distance, they could rain kinetic weapons on Earth without fear of the stellar weapon. Massive metal rods, accelerated to incredible speeds, would strike like nuclear bombs but leave no radiation. "Target major population centers," Vector ordered. "I want them to understand the price of defiance." But before he could give the fire command, something impossible happened. One of his ships, a heavy cruiser on the fleet's edge, simply exploded. Not from external attack, from within. A beam of focused solar radiation had reached across 400 million miles of space and speared through its heart like a laser through paper. Dr. Junho Lee had made a breakthrough. By creating sustained magnetic tunnels through space, the Prometheus array could focus solar radiation into precise beams. They didn't need to create another plasma tsunami. They could snipe individual ships from clear across the solar system. Nari watched the targeting data with grim satisfaction. "Target the next ship. Show them we can reach them anywhere in the solar system." Another alien vessel exploded, this one even further from the sun. The beam had traveled over 500 million miles, guided by magnetic fields that bent space itself. The Taraxian fleet, which had felt safe at Jupiter orbit, suddenly realized nowhere was safe. "They've turned their star into a precision weapon," Kelshaw reported, her voice tight with fear. "Admiral, we cannot fight this. They can strike us from any range." Vector's claws scraped against his chair. "Then we will destroy them before they can fire again." All ships, prepare for maximum speed assault. We reach Earth and end this in the next 6 hours. Admiral, that's madness. They'll burn half our fleet before we get close. Then we lose half the fleet, Vectar snarled. Better than crawling back to high command defeated by primitives. All ships advance at full speed. Target Earth directly. The Taraxian armada surged forward, 300 ships becoming a stampede of metal and fury. They knew many would die, but momentum and rage drove them forward. This species had humiliated them, made them afraid. That could not stand. Captain Do-hyun saw the enemy fleet accelerating toward Earth and knew what had to be done. His remaining ships, 8 vessels against hundreds, could not stop this charge. But they could slow it down, make it costly, buy time for one last desperate plan. All ships, Do-hyun broadcast. We're going to hit them with everything we have. Ram them if you have to. We're the last line between them and Earth. Let's make it count. Lieutenant Minho heard the order and felt ice in his stomach. This was a suicide mission. They all knew it. But what choice did they have? Behind them were 10 billion people counting on them to buy just a little more time. The human fleet charged toward the enemy like ancient cavalry, 8 ships against hundreds. They fired every weapon, launched every missile. The Defiant danced through enemy fire, Minho's hands moving on the controls like a musician playing his final song. He took out 2 enemy frigates before a plasma bolt clipped his engines. We're losing power, his co-pilot reported. Engines are failing. Then we make this count, Minho said. He aimed the dying ship at an enemy carrier and pushed the engines to overload. At the last second, escape pods launched. The Defiant crashed into the carrier's bridge at 3,000 miles per hour. Both ships became a ball of fire. Minho's pod tumbled through space, watching the battle through a tiny porthole. 4 more human ships died in the next 10 minutes, but they took 20 alien vessels with them. It wasn't enough. The enemy fleet kept coming, trampling over human resistance like an avalanche crushing pebbles. On Earth, Ambassador Yoonji Lim made one final broadcast to the alien fleet. Her voice was calm, but her words were steel. We know we cannot defeat you in conventional battle, but we will ensure you win nothing but ashes. Turn back now or we will destabilize our sun. When it dies, the radiation will sterilize every world within 50 light years. Your colonies will burn with us. This is not a bluff. Admiral Vectar received the message and laughed bitterly. They think we'll believe they would commit suicide? All species have a survival instinct. They're bluffing, but Kelsha wasn't so sure. She had watched this species weaponize their own star, watched them sacrifice their ships and soldiers without hesitation. These humans fought differently than any species she had ever encountered. They fought like cornered animals with nuclear weapons. Admiral, perhaps we should consider their offer. A tactical withdrawal. Silence! Vectar roared. We advance. Prepare all weapons. In 1 hour, Earth will burn. Captain Do-hyun, watching from the escape shuttle after his ship was destroyed, knew the end was coming. He activated a secret communication channel that led directly to the Prometheus control center. Dr. Choi, this is Do-hyun. I'm transmitting you coordinates for the alien flagship. I'm going to find a way aboard and sabotage their shields. When I give the signal, hit them with everything Prometheus has. Do-hyun, that's suicide. You'll be on that ship when we fire, I know. But if we can take out their command structure, maybe the rest will retreat. It's worth 1 life to save billions. Nari wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. In war, sometimes the bravest thing was accepting you would not survive. I'll wait for your signal. And Do-hyun, thank you for everything. Do-hyun smiled sadly. Take care of Earth for me. And tell everyone it was worth it. He cut the transmission and aimed his shuttle toward the alien flagship. Around him, the void of space was lit by weapons fire and dying ships. The war was reaching its final terrible conclusion. Soon everyone would know the true price of freedom. On Mercury, Nari prepared the Prometheus array for one final strike. The sun pulsed with barely contained fury. Its fusion processes pushed to the breaking point. One more use might destroy it forever. But what choice did they have? Charge all satellites, she ordered. Target lock on the flagship coordinates. And may heaven forgive us all. The Galactic Empire didn't expect it. Humanity lit their stars on fire, Captain. Do-hyun's shuttle drifted through the wreckage of destroyed ships, pretending to be just another piece of debris. The alien flagship Eternal Dominion loomed ahead like a metal mountain. Getting aboard would be impossible through normal means. But Do-hyun had learned long ago that impossible just meant difficult and dangerous. He guided the shuttle toward a damaged section of the flagship's hull, where a human missile had torn through the armor. The gap was small, barely wide enough for his shuttle. He squeezed through, scraping metal against metal, and found himself inside the enemy ship's maintenance corridors. The inside of the alien ship was strange. Everything was built for beings taller than humans. The air smelled different, like copper and something chemical. Do-hyun moved quietly through the corridors, his stolen translator device helping him read the alien symbols on the walls. He had 3 explosive charges and a plan that would probably kill him. All he needed was to reach the shield generator control room and plant the charges. When they detonated, the flagship's shields would drop for a few crucial seconds, long enough for Dr. Choi to strike with the full power of the sun. Far away, in a different part of space, Grand Admiral Thornax arrived with reinforcements. He was ancient by Taraxian standards, over 400 years old, and had commanded fleets when Earth's humans were still fighting with swords. He listened to the reports of the battle with growing disbelief. "They weaponized their star," he said, his voice cold as frozen nitrogen. "That technology is forbidden by every civilized species. It's been banned for 10,000 years. They're desperate," his aide explained. "They face extinction. Desperate species do desperate things." Thornax studied the tactical displays. "Then we will eliminate them completely. Not conquer. Not subjugate, exterminate. The galaxy cannot allow a species this dangerous to exist. Prepare the sterilization protocols." Admiral Vector received new orders from Grand Admiral Thornax. He read them twice, unable to believe what he was seeing. Complete planetary sterilization. Extinction-level bombardment. Kill every human and burn their world until nothing could ever live there again. Subcommander Kelsha saw the orders too, and horror filled her. "Admiral, this is genocide. The Empire has never faced a species that weaponizes stars," Vector interrupted. "These creatures are too dangerous to let live. If we show mercy, they will share their technology with every rebel group in the galaxy. Imagine if every conquered species had access to stellar weapons. The Empire would fall in a year." Kelsha realized with terrible clarity that he was right. The Empire's power came from overwhelming military superiority, but you cannot have military superiority against species that can destroy suns. Humanity had to die or the Empire would crumble. But she also realized something else. An empire that maintained power through fear and extinction was not worth preserving. She made a decision that would either make her a hero or a traitor. She sent a secret message to human forces, providing intelligence on the fleet's weak points and bombardment plans. Dr. Nari received the intelligence from an unexpected source. An alien named Kelsha was offering to help. The message included detailed shield frequencies and optimal targeting coordinates. It also included a warning. Grand Admiral Thornax was coming with orders to exterminate humanity completely. "It could be a trap," Commander Sujin said. "Or it could be our only chance," Nari replied. She thought about it for exactly 10 seconds. "Do-hyun is already inside their flagship. If this intelligence is real, we can end this war with one strike. If it's a trap, we're dead anyway. Let's take the chance." She began recalibrating the Prometheus array using the aliens' data. The targeting solutions were perfect, better than anything human computers had calculated. Either this Kelsha was genuinely helping, or the aliens were about to spring a devastating trap. Inside the Eternal Dominion, Do-hyun reached the shield generator room. 2 alien guards stood outside. He waited in the shadows, breathing slowly, forcing his racing heart to calm. He had one chance. He stepped out and fired his weapon. The first guard went down. The second turned faster than Do-hyun expected. Clawed hands grabbed him, lifting him off the ground. The alien was incredibly strong. Do-hyun felt ribs crack as the creature squeezed. He managed to draw his knife and stabbed upward, finding a gap in the armor. The alien roared and dropped him. Do-hyun scrambled into the shield room, sealed the door, and began planting his charges. Behind him, alarms wailed. More guards were coming. "Dr. Choi," he gasped into his communicator. "Charges are set. 30 seconds until detonation. When the shields drop, fire everything. Do-hyun, get out of there." "No time, the door won't hold." "Just promise me. Promise me Earth survives this." "I promise," Nari whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you, old friend." The charges detonated. The shield generators exploded in a cascade of electrical fire. For exactly 2.3 seconds, the Eternal Dominion shields were completely down. It was enough. The Prometheus array unleashed its full power. Every satellite, every magnetic generator, every ounce of energy they had been storing for days. All of it focused into a single, sustained beam. The tunnel of twisted magnetic fields created a direct path from the sun's core to the flagship's position. Stellar fire crossed 200 million miles in minutes. The beam was pure fusion heat, the same temperature as the sun's core. 15 million degrees focused into a lance barely 100 meters wide. It struck the Eternal Dominion precisely where Kelshaw's intelligence had said the armor was weakest. The flagship didn't explode. It simply ceased to exist. Metal vaporized instantly. The hull turned to plasma. Everyone inside, thousands of crew members, died before their brains could register pain. Admiral Vektar, Captain Dohyun, and 500 human prisoners all vanished in the same instant of terrible fire. Grand Admiral Thornax watched his flagship disappear from sensors and felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. These humans had just killed his finest admiral and destroyed the Empire's most powerful warship. With their star, the Taraxian fleet fell into chaos. Without central command, ship captains had to make their own decisions. Some wanted revenge. Others wanted to run as far from this cursed system as possible. The unity of the Imperial fleet shattered like glass, but on Mercury something even more terrifying was happening. Dr. Junho stared at his instruments in horror. "The sun is dying," he said. "The sustained beam, the magnetic stress, we've pushed it past the critical threshold. Solar fusion is becoming unstable. Cascade reaction has begun." "How long?" Nari asked, her voice hollow. 72 hours. Maybe less. The sun will either collapse or expand. Either way, everything in the inner solar system will be destroyed. Earth, Mars, Venus, all gone. Commander Sujin turned pale. "We won the battle but lost the war. We destroyed the enemy fleet, but we also destroyed ourselves." Nari looked at the dying sun through the window. Beautiful and terrible, it pulsed with unnatural light. She had won. She had saved Earth from conquest. But in doing so, she had killed it anyway. On Earth, the news spread like wildfire. They had won. The alien fleet was retreating. But the sun was dying, and they had maybe 3 days to evacuate 10 billion people from a solar system that was becoming a death trap. Private Seojin, wounded but alive in the ruins of New Seoul, looked up at the sky. The sun was brighter than it should be, flickering like a candle in the wind. Around him, human and alien soldiers who had been killing each other minutes ago now stood together, staring at the same terrible sight. "What have we done?" someone whispered. Nobody had an answer. The Galactic Empire didn't expect it. Humanity lit their stars on fire. The sky over Earth had turned the wrong color. The sun, humanity's life-giver for billions of years, now pulsed with sickly orange light. It flickered and swelled, like a heart having trouble beating. Everyone on Earth could see it. The star was dying, and it would take the entire solar system with it. Emergency sirens wailed across every city, every town, every settlement from pole to pole. The message was simple and terrible: evacuate or die. Humanity had 72 hours to abandon the cradle of their entire civilization. Lieutenant Minho, recovered from his escape pod and immediately pressed back into service, coordinated the evacuation fleet from a command center on Earth. Every ship capable of carrying people was being loaded. Colony vessels, cargo haulers, even luxury yachts. Anything that could reach the small human settlements in other star systems. "We have capacity for 4 billion people," his logistics officer reported. "There are 10 billion on Earth alone, not counting Mars and the other colonies." Minho felt sick. "So 6 billion people die. How do we choose who lives?" "Lottery system is already running. Random selection, no exceptions. Rich and poor have equal chance." The Secretary General herself was not selected. She's staying behind. In the streets of cities around the world, families were torn apart. A mother selected, her children not. A son selected, his elderly parents not. People who won the lottery felt not joy but crushing guilt. People who lost felt relief mixed with terror. Everyone knew this was goodbye forever. Private Seojin received his notification. Not selected. He had 3 days left to live. He sat in the rubble of New Seoul next to the wounded alien soldier he had sheltered with during the battle. Both of them had survived the fighting only to face death from the sky. "Your people did this?" the alien asked, his translator crackling. "We had no choice," Seojin replied. Your empire came to conquer us. We chose to die free rather than live as slaves. The alien was quiet for a long moment. My world made the other choice. We surrendered. For 50 years we have been slaves. Sometimes I think you humans chose more wisely. Above Earth, something unexpected happened. Several Taraxian ships broke formation and moved toward the planet. At first, the human defense forces prepared to fight. But then transmissions came through. It was Subcommander Kelshaw. We offer assistance with your evacuation, she said. Our ships are empty. We can carry perhaps 500 million of your people to safety. It will not save everyone, but it is something. There was silence on the human command channel. Then Ambassador Yunji spoke. Why would you help us? We just destroyed your fleet. Because watching a species die is something no sentient being should endure, Kelshaw replied. And because the empire that forced us to attack you is not worth preserving. Let me save some of your people. Let me prove that there is still honor in the galaxy. Not all Taraxian ships agreed with Kelshaw's decision. Many fled to hyperspace, wanting nothing more to do with humans and their dying star. But 47 ships stayed, opening their cargo bays to human refugees. Former enemies worked side by side, loading terrified families onto alien vessels. Seojin found himself helping load civilians onto a Taraxian transport. The same species that had been trying to kill him yesterday was now saving human children. War made no sense. But maybe peace didn't have to make sense. Maybe it just had to happen. On Mercury, Dr. Nari Choi worked frantically to stabilize the sun. It was probably futile, but she had to try. Junyo and a team of scientists stayed with her, volunteers who gave up their lottery selections to make one last attempt to fix what they had broken. If we can inject enough helium-3 into the core, we might slow the cascade reaction, Nari explained, her hands flying over the controls. It's a 1 in 1,000 chance, but it's still a chance, Junho finished. Better than giving up. They worked for 48 hours straight, no sleep, barely eating. The sun fought them every step of the way. Every time they stabilized one fusion reaction, another went critical. It was like trying to defuse a bomb while the timer kept speeding up. Outside Mercury Station, the star swelled visibly. Its outer layers expanded, reaching toward the planet. The heat inside the station climbed despite the cooling systems. They were running out of time. On Earth, the great exodus continued. Ships launched every few minutes, packed far beyond safe capacity. 4.5 billion people escaped in those frantic 3 days. The others stayed behind, watching the sky and waiting for the end. Director Jiwon Han was among those staying. He recorded a final message to be carried on the evacuation ships. We are humanity. We stood against an empire that had conquered 1,000 worlds, and we did not bow. We chose our own deaths rather than submit. Remember us. Remember that freedom is worth any price, and do not let our sacrifice be forgotten. In the final hours, Nari and her team achieved something impossible. By flooding the sun's core with exotic matter and creating controlled magnetic containment fields, they managed to slow the cascade reaction. The sun stopped expanding. The fusion rate stabilized barely. It's not fixed, Nari said, exhausted beyond measure. But we bought it time. Maybe years, maybe decades. The sun will be unstable forever, but it won't explode today. Junho laughed, a sound close to crying. So we have time to evacuate. Everyone can escape, but Nari shook her head. Look at the radiation levels. The solar wind is 1,000 times stronger than normal. It's bathing the inner planets in lethal radiation. Earth is already being sterilized. In a year, nothing will survive on the surface. We stopped the explosion, but we couldn't stop the death. They had won a hollow victory. The sun would not explode and consume the solar system. But Earth was dead anyway, killed not by fire but by radiation. The evacuees would not return. There was nothing to return to. 50 years passed. Humanity rebuilt in a dozen new star systems. They were scattered now, no longer concentrated in one place. The experience of near extinction had changed them. They became explorers, survivors, the species that had lit their own star on fire and lived to tell about it. The story spread across the galaxy. The empire, shaken by its defeat, began to fracture. Other conquered species saw what humanity had done and felt hope. Rebellions erupted. The empire spent decades fighting to maintain control, but the unity was broken. Eventually, it collapsed into a federation of independent worlds. Admiral Minho Park, now gray-haired and commanding humanity's defense fleet from Nova Terra, watched reports of the former empire tearing itself apart. Humanity had become the most feared species in the galaxy. not because of their numbers or their weapons, but because everyone remembered what they were willing to do. Ambassador Seojun Kwan, who had survived the battle in New Seoul and dedicated his life to diplomacy, negotiated treaties with dozens of former imperial species. They all wanted to learn from humanity. How do you resist tyranny? How do you maintain freedom? The answer was always the same. You decide freedom is worth any cost and you never back down. Dr. Nari Choi lived to be 97 years old. She spent her final decades teaching astrophysics to young students on Nova Terra. She never touched stellar manipulation technology again, but she made sure the knowledge was preserved, just in case humanity ever needed it again. On the day she died, she was watching the sunset over Nova Terra's purple ocean. A young student sat beside her. "Do you regret it?" the student asked. "Destroying our home to stay free?" Nari thought about Earth, beautiful Earth, now a radioactive wasteland orbiting an unstable star. She thought about Taijin, Dohyun, and the 6 billion who had died so the rest could live free. "Every single day," she said, "but I'd do it again. Freedom isn't free, child. Someone always pays the price. We just happen to be the ones holding the bill." She closed her eyes and saw the sun, that terrible, beautiful weapon, humanity's first and last line of defense, the fire they had lit to warn the galaxy. Never try to conquer us. We will burn ourselves to ashes before we bend the knee. In the abandoned solar system, automated satellites continued their watch around the poisoned sun. They recorded a message in every language humanity had ever spoken. "Here lies Earth, cradle of humanity. We chose death over slavery. We chose fire over chains. We lit our star like a torch and showed the galaxy what it means to be free. Remember us, not for what we lost, but for what we refused to surrender." The message would broadcast for 1,000 years, a warning and a promise. Humanity was scattered now, but they were still human, still stubborn, still willing to burn stars if pushed too far. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Sometimes the smallest species carries the biggest torch, and when that species decides to light it, everyone better step back from the flames.